found. 'Twas life, but now I see. Though many dangers, toils, and snares I have already come. 'Tis grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've marvelous days to sing God's praise. Then when we first begun, amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I am found. 'Twas blind, but now I see. 'Twas blind, but now I see. Amen.
Amen.
When the sun starts to rise and I open my eyes, you are good, so good. In the heat of the day, with each stone that I lay, you are good, so good. With every breath I take in, I'll tell you I'm grateful again. When the moon rises high before each kiss goodnight, you are good. When the road starts to turn around each bend, I've learned you are good, so good. And when somebody's hand holds me up, helps me stand, you are so good. With every breath I take in, I'll tell you I'm grateful again. 'Cause it's more than enough just to know I am loved and you are good. So how can I thank you? And what can I bring? What can a poor man lay at the feet of a king? So I'll sing you a love song. It's all that I have to tell you I'm grateful for holding my life in your hand. When it's dark and it's cold and I can't feel my soul, you are still good. When the world has gone gray and the rain's here to stay, you are still good. With every breath I take in, I'll tell you I'm grateful again. And the storm may swell, even then it is well, and you are So how can I thank you? And what can I bring? What can a poor man lay at the feet of a king? So I'll sing you a love song. It's all that I have to tell you I'm grateful for holding my life in your hands. So I'll sing you a love song. It's all that I have to tell you I'm grateful for holding my life in your hands. You are holding my life in your hands.
Welcome to a walk through the Bible with Bernie, Pam, and Tom. Today we're going to be talking on miracles. There was many miracles in the Old Testament, many miracles in the New Testament, and there's still miracles going on today. And I like to tell you, I feel that I am a miracle.
You are.
And I'll tell you what happened to me. 1969, I had gone to Jamaica, and I had gone swimming in Jamaica in a beautiful place. And 3 weeks after I got home, I wasn't feeling too good, and I went to bed, and that's the last thing I remembered. Spent 14 weeks in the hospital, including a couple of weeks in a nursing home. So it was a great ordeal. My chances of living were 2%. 2%. But the thing with what happened to me was what happened when I had died. I was clinically dead for 8 minutes. 8 minutes clinically dead. And I remember when I was in my body, and I remember when I was out of my body. Now what happened was, when I had died for the 8 minutes, I was in a dark place, and I was standing, but there was no ground under me. And everything in the room was dark, and I kept calling for Jesus, calling for Jesus. And I could feel my hands, but I couldn't see them. And I could feel my legs and my feet, but I couldn't see them. So that had to be my spirit that was standing there. And then as I was calling for Jesus, I looked to the right of me. And when I looked to the right of me, I saw this big opening, and there was all light, and the light was moving away from me. And I kept calling for Jesus, and then when I looked back into the light, I saw this old gentleman walk out of the light, turned around, and he sat at the edge of the light with his back towards me, and he sat on a big stone. And when I looked onto the left, there was another old gentleman sitting on a stone on the left. And in my mind, it came that the one on the right was Isaiah, and the one on the left was Ezekiel. Then all of a sudden, a voice came in. And the voice said, "Where you are, there's time. Where they are, there's no time." And I begged God to take me so I could get into the light, but I couldn't get into the light. Then all of a sudden, I was back in my body. And then I left again, and I was standing in a cemetery. And as I looked, I was standing 2 feet off the ground, and as I looked down, there was an open grave. The grave was empty, and I wanted to get in it so I could rest. I was so tired. Now I looked to the right of me, there was a being a huge person about 7 feet tall, and all light was protruding from the body of this person. It looked into the grave, and I looked in again, and then it turned around and it looked up into the sky, and I looked up into the sky. When I looked up into the sky, it was the bluest sky you can ever imagine. And there was no sun, but it was perfect daylight. There was thousands of people standing with robes, white robes from the neck to the feet, and they were all singing these hymns. Then all of a sudden, I was back in pain and agony. I knew I was back in my body. And that's my story. And it was, I'll tell you, it was quite the journey. I spent 14 weeks in bed. Tom went and see me.
How much do you weigh, Bernie?
When
right
I
now,
left,
right now, what do you weigh?
I weigh around 157 to 160.
What did you go down to?
I weighed 110 pounds.
Yes. You look like a skeleton. You look like a skeleton.
I came home in a wheelchair. I had a walker, and it took me 2 years.
What about dialysis?
And I was on dialysis. I was supposed to be on dialysis for the rest of my life.
Yep.
I was on dialysis for 10 weeks, which I dreaded. And then a miracle.
Praise. A lot of people prayed for you.
People were praying for me in Florida. People were praying for me in South Carolina, North Carolina, Massachusetts, all over the place. And I went to the doctor one day, and she was reading my report, and she says, I don't believe this. I said, well, what is it now? What's the problem now? She says, your kidneys came back 100%. She said, I've never, ever seen it happen, especially in a person your age. At the time, I was 69 years old. Another miracle.
So what year was it that this happened?
1960.
That-
I was 69 years old, so that's what?
You're really
6
old.
years, 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years in March. I am really old.
But this is what I'm saying. 69 years old.
I was 69 years old.
Your body was already at a point
Already
where
at
it's
a point
amazing
where
you could.
I was going the other
Your
way.
kidneys shouldn't even be working at 100% to begin with.
My kidneys were gone. My lungs collapsed. My liver was gone. And my heart stopped for 8 minutes. Tom saw me in the hospital, and they all knew there was no way I was making it out of this.
When you look at pictures of the Jewish people that were in the concentration camps like this, okay, when Bernie was in Clifton for rehab, when I walked in there, he had just a sheet basically on him. He looked like a pink skeleton. He wouldn't eat. He couldn't talk. He was depressed. He didn't want to live. I mean, he was in so much pain and agony.
I did not eat anything. The only thing I did was drink a little bit, just a little bit, and mostly of it was all IVs. I did not eat any solid food for 14 weeks. I could not eat for what happened was, I guess, inside my mouth there was like all this crust, and I mean, I couldn't even feel my tongue. That's how bad. I mean, I was dying.
And when he finally was healed, okay, when he came to the house to sing, okay, when he got out of the car, okay, me and Donna and Roland had to walk him up the stairs just to my living room. He couldn't sing. He didn't have the voice to sing. It took a long time for him to just be able to walk and go up and everything else. And then God's healed him. He sings, he walks, he works, okay? God's using us for his purpose, okay? That's a miracle.
Yeah.
And tell them who the doctor was, the Jewish doctor, who couldn't believe that...
Dr. Tripp.
Yeah.
She had just, they rushed me to Charlton, and when I got to Charlton, there happened to be an infectious disease doctor there.
Just happened to be.
He's never there, Dr. Appleton. He's never there, but he happened to be there. He told my wife, I'm going to treat your husband for leptospirosis. He said, I don't know if it is, but I think it is. And he said, you get him out of here, get him to Boston or get him Rhode Island, because he's not going to make it through this. He's not going to make it through.
And what happened in Boston?
So Boston wouldn't take me.
Yeah.
So they rushed me to Rhode Island. When I got to Rhode Island didn't want to take me, but this young doctor, she just got her license to practice. She says, bring him into my room, I'll take him. She brought me into her room. In her room, there was the only ECMO machine. It's a machine that keeps all your body alive. It keeps your liver going, your lungs going, it keeps your kidneys going. That machine happened to be in that room.
Another miracle, yeah.
Another miracle.
Yeah.
That's when I went to cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
And another miracle which I could never understand was my plumber, Bill Ankle. He happened to be in Rhode Island and he heard that I was in that hospital. He went into the hospital looking for me, and as he was walking by my room, he saw all these people rushing in. So they came out and they said, "Who are you?" And he didn't know what to say. He says, he's my uncle. They said, "Well, call his family right away because we just sent his family home, but he's dying, so call the family."
Oh, yeah.
He happened to be there to call my family because they were calling the phone, but it was my phone they were calling.
Yeah.
So,
But we get phone calls
Yeah.
saying, "Pray for Bernie. He's doing a little better." Okay, 24 hours later, "Pray for Bernie. We don't think he's going to make it through the night." That went on and off for weeks.
It was like 3 times my wife got called up to the hospital that I wasn't going to make it
Yeah.
through the night. Yeah. But the Lord had something else in mind, I guess, for me.
He definitely
But-
has plans for you.
Yes, and I've always believed in God, but when I was that sick, laying in that bed, all I wanted to do was I wanted to leave. I did not want to live. I was in so much pain, so much agony. I had a hole on the bottom of my spine. It was probably an inch or so around. They used to pack it from being in bed. I didn't want to live, but God kept me going. God was there with me because I was very calm. Very calm. I've never been that calm in my entire life.
You're still not.
Not to lay in bed for 14 weeks. But I would just lay there hoping that I was going to be taken.
Now, if you were going to Boston, they wouldn't have had that machine.
They wouldn't have had that machine.
There'd be somebody else sitting there talking.
Yeah,
Yep, yep.
yeah.
It is
That's what a
amazing.
miracle is. So, yeah.
So-
And it's funny because, we pray for miracles and then we get them. A lot of people don't go back and thank the Lord. And then a lot of people just say, well, it wasn't a miracle. It was just
A
a
lot of people
coincidence.
don't
Okay?
realize it.
Those are miracles.
I
yes.
thank God every day for my life, to be able to be here with my family, with my grandchildren. People don't realize, life is very precious. But when you come to the point that I was in, the sickest, I was a very sick person. The pain that I had was tremendous, the pain in my bones, in my muscle. You want to leave. Death becomes your best friend. You really want to leave. And I was not afraid because I knew Christ. And then what I had seen and where I was, then when I got home, I wanted to know, why was I in this dark place? Then I go into the scriptures and I go to the Psalms, Psalm 23, in the center of the Psalm. Yea, though I... Now, the old timer that was sitting on the stone to the right of me, he had a huge staff, and he was sitting there holding this staff. Then as I'm reading in the middle of the Psalm, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff shall comfort me. And I was comforted.
But you didn't explain the whole story. Okay? They sent him home, okay? Figured he's going to survive. And then after the leptospirosis, he ended up with another disease that they didn't even know what it was, called C. diff.
C. diff.
That one almost killed
That
you
almost
again.
killed me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in.
That was after all of
Yeah.
this.
And he wouldn't eat.
That's from all
They
the
would.
antibiotics.
Yes.
That's a bad one.
I had C. diff.
He wouldn't eat. He didn't want to do anything. They basically said there's nothing wrong with him. It's all in his mind. And then they found out he had C. diff.
Yep.
And I don't know if you get that in the hospital or.
From antibiotics. You
Yep,
get
okay.
that.
I
Yeah.
had so many antibiotics.
Yeah.
They were giving me stuff that they didn't know was going to work. They were just pumping me in with it to see if it was going to work.
But so from the beginning, though, you went to the hospital. There was an infectious disease person
Yep.
at Charlton, and you're right.
He's never there.
Never
Infectious
there.
disease people don't just walk around Charlton.
No.
They
Yeah.
walk around Rhode Island.
Yeah.
They walk around
Yeah.
Boston. They do not walk around Charlton
No.
or
Yep.
St. Anne's. And then to have that machine available
Available.
in that very same room, and the person that said, "Give him to me," because nobody else
The
would
young
take it.
doctor, nobody wanted to touch it.
And what an incredible witness for
So
her.
you talk a miracle after miracle. It was Satan was trying to take me, but God was not allowing it. Every avenue he tried to take me out, God had something there to help me out.
And we were saying miracles that happen in the Bible.
Yep.
They're not called miracles, right?
Right, they're called signs and wonders. Yep, that's what Jesus did many times. Yep.
And why? Why do we see signs and wonders? to show who God is.
Yep, and to increase
Yeah.
our faith, yep.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I'm sure many of us can sit down and we know cases where somebody was in the hospital. My wife's friend was in Canada and she was sick. Okay, the doctors didn't know what to do with her. They just said she had a migraine headache. This is Diana Fox, the one in our
Yeah,
Bible study.
yeah.
So her husband said, well, we're going to Maine. They went to Maine. The doctor looked at her. And I don't know exactly what she had, but something in her brain that would have killed her within 24 hours. And the doctor there was a doctor that's one of the things he does. That's what he does for an operation. Okay, and she was saved. Okay? She goes around now preaching and talking. Those are miracles. We all have miracles in our family. We've all had miracles that have happened. And what I hope is when they happen that we sit down and we thank the Lord and don't just say, well, it was because of the doctor, it was because of the machine, or it was because of this. Okay?
Or it was because of the
It's all-
medication.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
people have been dying of this COVID.
yes.
What I had was 100 times more powerful
Yeah.
than COVID.
Yeah.
And I made it through every aspect of it.
But here's the other thing. Bernie.
It was so bad that when I got home, I would sit at the edge of the bed and I'd rub my arm like this and my skin would fall on the floor.
Well, tell him when you went back to lift weights. You went back to lift weights. You went down. You couldn't even pick it up.
I couldn't
He
pick up a
couldn't walk.
2-pound weight.
He couldn't walk. He couldn't pick
No.
up his arms. He couldn't sing. He had a tough time talking.
No.
I mean, he looked like he was like a 99-year-old man you'd seen in a nursing home of cancer,
on a
ready
walk.
to die. Yep.
And only 5 years ago.
Yep.
And only 5 years in March.
Yeah.
So it ain't 5 years.
That was a vacation he'll never forget.
That's a vacation I'll never forget.
And he won't go.
Yeah.
He won't go
And-
freshwater.
yeah, and-
Was that fresh or
And we're
saltwater?
gonna have the pictures
It would
to
be
show
fresh.
you freshwater. We'll have the pictures to show you where I went swimming, when I was in the hospital, and everything. I was hooked up. I had pipes, hoses in my neck, in my back, in my stomach. I had more tubes in me. But tell us about the miracles and
Well,
in,
you know,
in the dictionary. What is a
when
miracle?
we had decided we were going to talk about miracles, we were going to talk about Bernie's miracles. Bernie is a miracle. I mean, this man who 5 years ago couldn't lift a 2-pound weight has built quite a bit in my house and lifted quite a bit of heavy things in my home, helping me fix some things there. And I started thinking about, miracles in my life. Nothing compares. I can't find a story that would compare to that, except it's still miracles. And it's
Yes.
still used for God's glory. And that's why God does miracles. He does those signs and wonders. And then I said, well, what is the definition of a miracle according to secular world? So the definition that you will find online is that it is a surprising and welcoming event that is not explicable by nature, by natural or scientific laws, and is therefore considered to be the work of a divine agency. And then the secondary definition would be a highly improbable or extraordinary event, development, or accomplishment that brings very welcome consequences, which when I started going through all the miracles, I mean, I just had
Yes.
pages and pages
Oh, yeah.
just going through the Bible. Not every miracle was welcoming. I'm sure that the Egyptians did not like the frogs or the locusts
Nope.
or the death of the firstborn.
Yes.
All of those would be considered wonders and signs, what we call miracles. The outcome was to free the Israelites.
Exactly.
So the consequences were welcome.
Bring the Jews back into their land.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, another miracle, if you want to look at it, the Jews lost their land for 2,000, I think it's 2,500 years. They lost the land. Now, in the scriptures, God said that He was going to bring them back to their land, and they were going to build homes, and they were going to grow vineyards. 1948.
48. Yep.
Israel became a nation and governed herself after 2,500 years.
And who was the first one to acknowledge that after they did?
To
United States.
the United
Yeah.
States.
Was it Eisenhower who was the president at that time?
Yes, well, Jerusalem and the United States are tied together.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you spell Jerusalem, it's Jerusalem. So USA, we are in the middle of the Jewish nation. So we are a helping hand to
We're the only
Jewish
helping hand
nation.
right now.
The only
We're the
helping
only
hand.
helping hand right now with the Jewish
And
nation.
God also says, I will bless those who bless you,
Yes.
and I will curse those who curse you. The day that the United States goes against Israel is the day the United States collapses.
Yes. Because the rest of the world is against Jerusalem. Yep.
Exactly. Right now, the world is going against the Jewish people, and the world are going against Christians. There's more Christians being martyred today
Oh, yeah, they
than
have.
ever in
Yeah,
history.
You just don't
Yeah.
hear about it.
But
yeah.
you don't hear about it.
And I think it was the UN last week or the week before just labeled Israel as the #1 terrorist
Yeah.
organization in the world.
Yeah.
And they're not. They're just, what they're doing is, this is their land. They've always had it, and they're trying to protect it. They're getting bombed every day, and everything, a lot of things are happening.
Yep.
And they just keep saying it's Israel's fault. They started it. They did this. They did that.
So we're showing you all these miracles, and then the next time we meet, we're gonna bring you into the end times. Everybody wants to know what's happening today. What's happening to our country? What's happening to the world? We're going to show you in the scriptures where we're living. In the scriptures, we're going to show it to you in the
Signs
scriptures.
and wonders.
And the signs and wonders. So now, what else do we have on miracles?
Whoa, we could spend hours
Yes.
on miracles. I will say, Albert Einstein is quoted as saying, there are two ways to live your life, as if nothing is a miracle, or as if everything is a miracle. And I think that a lot of times we choose what we see. Do you see it as a miracle, or do you not? Is there such a thing as a coincidence? I don't think so. God is in all the small details of our lives. He's got a plan,
Yeah.
and whether we follow that plan or not, his plan does come to fruition.
If you look at miracles, me being able to walk is a miracle. You, Tom, all of us. Me being able to speak is a miracle. Me being able to see is a miracle.
Yeah.
Me being able to hear is a miracle. There's some people that can't see, can't hear, can't walk, can't talk. So these are all miracles. So what people are going to do is, no matter what's happening in your life, turn to the Lord Jesus Christ as your personal Savior. Put all your faith in one man. His name is Jesus Christ. Forget everything else. Just put that one man in your mind and in your heart. Worship him and him only.
Well,
Salvation.
I could tell you, when I first got married, I worked at the Marine Lab. I was just like a student teacher there, research assistant. But I was traveling 110 miles a day back and forth. Research assistant, so it was a nice job, nice title, not a lot of money. I prayed for a job close to the home. And then I worked at a gas station part-time, and it was a guy that I knew years ago, got a job at Bristol Aggie, and he was teaching tree climbing. His name was Russell Partridge. And I just said, Russ, that's a nice school. I would like to get a job teaching. And then 2-3 months later, I got a phone call from Russell saying, Tom, they just posted an opening for a math teacher. Okay? So I called up the school, talked to the superintendent. It was like 2 hours after they posted it. He said, how'd you find that out? I said, my friend Russell Partridge told me. He says, come on down for an interview. Went down for an interview, got hired in July, okay, taught at Bristol Aggie for 38 years, driving 11 miles a day, the best job I've ever had in my life. God's blessed me, okay? That was a miracle.
Yeah.
He just saw it, he just called me up. I mean,
Yeah.
but that was a prayer that was answered. Yes.
Now, before we end, we're going to talk about one more miracle.
Which one is that?
Nashville, Tennessee.
Yes.
That explosion, if that man would have exploded that at 6:30 at night, hundreds would be dead.
Yeah.
Hundreds would be maimed, crippled, blind, deaf. For some reason, and I don't know what, it was God guided, God was there, because not one person died
Not one.
in that massive
Just him.
explosion. Just
Him.
him. So listen, we've had a good time talking about miracles. Next time we see you, we're going to be talking about the end times, the prophecies of the end times, and where we are in the Bible. Have a good night. God bless you.
Bye.